Welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, right here at Black Video Network. And we now, do y'all realize we're about halfway, 6 months in January? We'll celebrate our first year of doing programs well. And the person who's been there for us every time along the way is our producer genius, Carl Booker. But I got to add the other part too, and I've dictated. So our head is always off to Carl. He's a brilliant guy. You never get him in front of the camera. One of the days we're going to get him in front of the camera because he has so much knowledge that he can share with our viewers. But anyway, our hats off to Carl. We want to, as usual, thank him for making this all possible. So back to Chris.
You know, in continuing our conversation about guns in America, is it an epidemic? I think this is one of the subjects that this Contemporary Black Voices has taken on that really, yes, we want to look at it from a black perspective, but it's really an American problem. It's an American problem that's affecting everybody and every segment of America. So I'd like to turn to our panelists, whoever would like to ask. Hopefully we can start with Caleb. and see what you think about that, because every day we turn on the TV, there's a mass shooting someplace.
Yeah, and so again, and if you take what Professor Williams was saying before the break, the other thing that they're in love with is and you combine that with Dr. Sharon's data showing that the number, how skewed the numbers are, and again the statement that they love the racism, and you can take those two things and it is just forgive me, Chris, it's ontological. And so that is the essence of America's DNA.
And what was that word again?
Right.
Ontological. Okay. Y'all look that up.
Forgive me. And so it is. And so it's just it's in their DNA. It is those two things: the subjugation of others, the oppression of black folks, the continued suppression of black folks. And you look at the numbers. You look at it's a concerted effort. When you look at the numbers don't lie. The numbers are there, but the actual the numbers and the narrative are completely different.
Let me switch this to Professor Fred Williams for a second. Will we, as a country, be able to overcome this? Is this going to be the downfall of America? In my opening statement, I talked about we are the only country in the world who has this gun problem. And in order for us to be that civilized society, we are going to have to deal with this. But we've got that Second Amendment that we can't seem to get over that hurdle.
It's our Achilles heel, no doubt about it. It's our Achilles heel. We're going to destroy from within. There's nobody out there, well, maybe China, but there's no one out there that can defeat the United States. We're such a powerful country with such a powerful army and weapons, but it's falling apart within. Simply one of the big reasons, I think, and it's always been a reason, is this country has never been able to reconcile its differences in races. You realize the United States is a tremendous test of civilization. You have people coming from everywhere, from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, everywhere. That's never been done before. But it's still in the testing period. Can this work? Can all these different people come to this one country and survive? One thing we know, I think we almost know, is that it won't work with a white majority in charge, because they are so hung up on being white and being superior to everyone else that it must be in when they feed their babies with the milk. It must be in the milk.
Right.
It must be in the milk.
Let's let Dr. Chadwell.
Okay, because it's not normal for someone to walk into a grocery store like in Buffalo, New York, and just literally start shooting people. I mean, that's not normal. Something's happened to you. Or this kid in El Paso, going there and killed 23 people because they're of another race. Yeah, it's ingrained in them. And so if we're gonna depend on them to save this country, yeah, we're in bad shape.
Dr. Chadwell.
You know, when I saw the stats, it really, I suspected the outcome, but I never have seen those numbers before until it was in my face. So it got me thinking about something that you posted on Facebook, and you can say who wrote the article. But the statement was, teach your kids how to read. Teaching your kids how to read is important, but teaching them to ask questions is even better. So we're not asking a lot of questions. We're accepting what we are reading. We're accepting what we're being told by the media. And until we start asking those hard questions and willing to accept the answers that's going to come back, just like Fred said, we are in a world of trouble. We're in a world of trouble. And I keep thinking about this movie, a series on Netflix called Destroying, something about the kill the brutes, eliminate the brutes. It's either on Netflix or on Hulu, but eliminate the brutes. And this history of destroying other ethnic groups, other religious groups, has been in this world's DNA for a long, long time. And we're still trying to eliminate the brutes here, but I have to say, white America, statistically, you're the brutes. Your folks are getting killed, even more so than black folks. So there needs to be a reality check that, hey, something is wrong. Do we really want this to continue, or do we really want to work on steadfast solutions to where we can move on?
And I want to go back to Fred on that statement, because he said it must be in the milk. But my question is that when we look at these mass shootings, the majority of the mass shootings have been white on white crime, which we talked about in the first segment, that the media never talks about quote unquote white on white crime. They talk about black on black crime, but they never talk about white on white crime. However, the majority of these mass shooters are white, and they're killing white folks. So my question is that can't America see that this is destroying us, and what are we going to do about that, and why is it only white on white?
When America can see that the Second Amendment is enabling this to happen, until they can see that, nothing's going to change. Because they all believe I got a right under the Second Amendment. And there's a question about that. If you look at the Second Amendment, it doesn't address the individual.
Right.
They talk about a militia.
Well-regulated militia.
A well-regulated militia.
Right.
Well, the other thing you have to look at is with that Second Amendment, you've got major lobbying groups such as the
Yes.
NRA. As long as these politicians are making like in the hundreds of thousands off of these under-table deals with the NRA, for example, they will always turn their eyes from the stats and never do anything, because the NRA is making their money on membership dues, and some of those NRA members are gun store owners. So that's a powerful piece right there, the lobbyists.
And what you have to do is do away with campaign money. Now that may sound
Right.
weird, but if the government would put up so much money
For each campaign, right.
it would do away with the lobbyists, and it
Right.
would do away with the gun lobbyists.
Right.
Now, those guys who, I know some of them vote that way, they don't believe in it, but they want to get reelected. So let's find another way for them to get reelected and do away with the money.
Yeah, the
part of it.
vast amount.
That should be a part of the larger picture,
Right.
as well as doing away with the Second Amendment.
So it looks like,
Politicians need to learn how to live within their means, as they're telling us.
yeah, well, that ain't never going to happen. But based on what Fred is saying, then to me, until there is a total change in America, meaning the voting, meaning the people that we put into office, meaning that how we look at things in the Constitution, like the Second Amendment, that really does not serve us well at this particular point. We're going to have to look at all of those things in order to change America.
Right.
The question is does America have the will and the want to be able to make those changes?
A couple of things, but I'm gonna just touch on a couple of them. So one, like Professor Williams talked about, as far as the demise of this country and how, and so when you take a look at the gun violence, I think a lot of that is frustration, especially when you have white male frustration, where people are telling them that their position should be here, and their actual position is here, and so I think a lot of that goes towards racism, blame, and a lot of it goes towards frustration because they're not where they want to be economically. And so when you combine those two things, I think you can see the writing on the wall with America. America, the foundation of America, this country is an economic experiment. Never has been a democratic experiment. It's always been an economic experiment. And so I think when you combine those two things, this economic frustration, you can see the writing on the wall, and you can see how America's demise is going to come about. And you can see that it's fueling its own demise with the guns, with this large population. History is replete with examples of empires that have fallen. You can look at the Romans, and you can look at the diverse Roman population and how Rome fell and how all those different populations went to war with each other. You can look at the Ottoman Empire. That dissolved with war. Different ethnic groups warring with each other. I'm gonna let
you finish, but I want to ask the question that I totally believe that we Americans, and blacks probably first, have the ability to possibly turn this around. So I'm asking the question to the rest of you, do you think this is imminent, that America will fall, or do you think we have the ability to correct change and make sure that we can stay where we are? Because the one thing that America has that no one else has is we got consumers. We got people with TVs in every room, 2 cars in the garage. If China can't sell it here, okay, it can't be successful.
That's part of the problem.
That's going to be the demise of this country. Capitalism.
Capitalism. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You weren't supposed to use that word, Caleb. You weren't supposed to say that, Caleb.
I can't take it back.
It'll never be the same.
Right.
I was going to say, but we didn't have enough time. The other aspect of this is capitalism.
Yeah.
Because capitalism feeds those congressmen, so they get all that money, and it makes the most powerful money-backing lobbyists able to influence legislation.
Right.
And until you do away with that,
Right. Capitalism.
Caleb made a good statement there.
It is.
All major powerful countries have fallen.
They fall. So empires rise and fall. This is not gonna be permanent either. But when you capitalism is so they've made it so pervasive throughout the world. These people have monetized everything. And I think Dr. Sherry and I had talked about this before, how these people they've actually monetized air. They monetize. I'm serious. They build carbon sinks. You know what I mean? And that's how they monetize the air that we breathe, by building carbon sinks. They monetize the ocean. They have made capitalism so pervasive throughout the entire world. You're gonna have it's gonna be a system that, and I'm not a communist, but it's gonna be a system that is gonna lead to the end. But that's not a bad thing.
We're going to have to stop it right there, but we're going to take another break. But when we come back, we're going to do a news segment that we've never done before, which is called Mailbag. And then we'll have our hot topic. And the hot topic is going to be black robes over white sheets. We'll be right back.